Left channel, right channel, center.
VTuber 一問一答自己紹介
Yeah, and the tape's
それじゃあ
rolling.
行くよせーのお名前は
Katt Phloxworthy.
呼び方は
Just Cat is fine.
あなたは何系 VTuber?
Nerdy cat girl who features
誕
spaceflight.
生日は
May 4th.
年齢は
Older than Pneumatic.
性別は
Transgender
身
female.
長は
4'11".
出身は
Sacramento County.
チャームポイントは
Zylog hair clip.
突然ですがモノマネどうぞ
Yeah, what's up, Dad?
活動場所は
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube.
はじめの挨 拶
Thank you for joining me.
終わりの挨拶
Bye.
推しマークは
Not at present.
配信タグは
Catlight feed.
ファンアートは
Cat pics.
ファンネームは
Cat's apprentices.
好きな色は
Iris indigo.
好きなことは
Vintage computers and
得
video.
意なことは
Technology.
ここで一言愛の告白好
I love you.
きな食べ物は
Ethnic foods.
好きな飲み物は
Craft soda.
好きな漫画は
Pizza 10.
好きなアニメは
Planet.
好きなゲームは
Left 4 Dead 2.
好きな音楽は
Classic rock.
苦手なことは
Human stupidity.
尊敬するのは
Spacefaring people.
叶えたい夢は
ISS crew
最後にみんな
interview.
に一言どう
Thanks
ぞ
so much for your support and a final status check.
Go Atlas.
Go Centaur.
Go Katt Phlox.
You have permission to launch.
3, 2, 1. RD-180 ignition, booster ignition, and liftoff of Atlas V and Centaur. Hello to everybody on my primary 3 places on the streaming internet. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Katt Phloxworthy here. Just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much for joining me on my first spaceflight simulcast. I am now live right now on Twitch, YouTube, and the newest streaming provider out there, especially for VTubers, VStream. And as many of you on Twitch and some of you on YouTube and my new viewers over on VStream might at least the people on Twitch and YouTube might already know. And for those of you on VStream who don't know me very well, yeah, exactly. I do a lot of live streaming of I do some commentary on spaceflight, and tonight's flight will be out of the Space Launch Complex 40 over at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And that's where they usually fly, that's where they always fly uncrewed vehicles, such as tonight's mission, which is to place 23 Starlink satellites into orbit. And they've been recently ramping up the launch pace lately. And on top of that, a good many of these first stages have been really racking up a lot of reuses. The record right now stands at 18 relaunches. That is insane. Hey, Grinber, how you doing? And hey, KF16, how are you doing too? Good to see you guys. I'm actually pretty surprised to see so many of you here, especially on an extremely short notice launch stream. Today sure is a day, as will tomorrow. Yes, that's what I was going to get to. I am going to try and cover the launch of the next launch of Starship and Super Heavy. I couldn't do it last time because it happened while I was at work, and they were in the process of fixing an actuator for one of the grid fins. So then, I don't know. I'm not sure. From my understanding, they're not actually going to necessarily land it on somewhere. They're supposed to. They said, I remember seeing something about a drone ship, but I really don't think that's going to happen right now. I imagine the main thing they're going to try and do, if nothing else, is try to get it off the ground and hopefully have it not rud like it happened last time. And on top of that, this time, if they've got to do a, I almost hate to call it a rud, because if the FTS triggers, it's sort of planned on the one hand, but on the other, it's like something goes significantly sideways. That part is unplanned. What happens after that is definitely planned, saying, okay, make ship go boom. Yeah. And there goes a bunch of liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Bam. Probably a water soft landing like what they did with the early Falcon 9 landing tests, or at most. Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But in any event, this is going to be, it's been a little bit since I did my last Starlink stream, and SpaceX decided to go and move to its other wholly owned subsidiary, Twitter, now known, the Web 2.0 site, formerly known as Twitter, that is to say. But in any event, we're going to see how things go from here. That's what the web shows, so most likely. Oh, I have T2. Integrated Flight 2. Sure will be a thing. If I'm lucky, I'm gonna be. Yeah, the very last string of visibility zones. Okay, yeah. Oh, are you going to be downrange of it, or are you going to be seeing it pretty much go away from you, from where you are? I'm curious about that now. Oh, so it's going to be coming toward you. Interesting. Or at least go across your field of view. That'll be interesting to see. Especially something that big, because that thing is supposed to be a lot taller than Saturn V. And certainly all 33 some odd engines at the base of Super Heavy are already going to be putting out more power than Saturn than the 5 Rocketdyne F1s at the base of Saturn V. Grand total, all of those things all told will put out about 17 million pounds of thrust, I think, versus, I believe, what was it, 7 or 8 million for the 5 F1s? Because that'll be interesting to see how that works. Also, another difference between the F1s and the Raptor 2. I think they're going to be using the Raptor 2s on this mission. Is of course the F1s use RP1 and LOX, whereas this one is going to be using LCH4 or liquid methane and LOX, liquid oxygen. So liquid methane is apparently pretty close in density to liquid oxygen. In theory, they could use a shared shaft turbopump, but they're using what is called full flow stage combustion, where they have both they have two different turbopumps, one being fuel rich, sending all the fuel and some of the oxidizer through the pump and sending the rest into the combustion chamber, and the other one being oxidizer rich, sending all the oxidizer and some of the fuel into the pre-burner, and then the remainder goes into the remainder of the oxidizer goes into the combustion chamber. A far cry from what the Merlin 1D, which we'll see tonight, which is an open cycle gas generator cycle where they burn fuel and propellant, fuel and liquid oxygen at a wildly fuel rich ratio, mainly because they need to keep the turbopump cool. So if you happen to see, for example, if you were to look at it in sunlight, the exhaust of the turbopump would be absolutely black soot. Unfortunately, that's what they have to do, because that part has to be the absolutely most reliable part of it. Or you don't have a turbopump, your engine gets shut down. And in the case of LCH4, unlike RP1, which is a duodecane hydrocarbon, which is a long chain of hydrocarbons with 12 carbon atoms surrounded by 26 hydrogens, this is the simplest hydrocarbon, which is 1 carbon and 4 hydrogen atoms surrounding it. So you won't have the polymerization or anything like that, or the coking that happens that can block some of these various passages. 76 mN. Oh, I see. Meganewton, 76 meganewtons versus the 37 on the Saturn 1C. Let's see. IFT2 fail if not only to stop more Starlink launches. Yeah. Not to mention, it's still early enough in the testing process where it's almost like certain. Okay. I guess let me do something here. I'm gonna do this on my Twitch stream. Let's see. I'm trying to find. Manage prediction. We'll take the poll now, and then we'll stream it tomorrow, and maybe take another poll before the actual stream. But for grins and giggles, what we're going to do is we're going to go, we got a few minutes before the stream actually starts, so we're going to do this. Here is, let's see. Let's see. Let's make this. Friends, let's make it 15 minutes. Okay, there you go. Have fun. So, rise or rud, which is it going to be? And of course, what we'll do is we'll take a vote. I'll post the results on my Twitter, which reminds me, there they are right now on my Twitch stream. For those of you who don't know my who need to get my signpost, let me do that real quick here. That is there. I'm going to go ahead and post this on my other 2 streams. Stand by. So if you want to keep up with me and see what's going on in the workshop and labs, by all means, drop me a follow over on Twitter. I have just gotten onto Blue Sky, so basically, oh, that reminds me, you need to add that too. Let me do this real quick here as well. And there you go. Copy link address, and I'm going to paste it to both of my other ones, and I'm also going to be updating some of my assets to replace that. To reflect that. There we go. For those people who want to follow me on my newest socials, there they are. So, and of course, I also happen to have a Threads account as well. And with the advent of supposedly basically Twitter, aka the Web 2.0 site formerly known as X, the Web 2.0 site formerly known as Twitter, will be going $1 a year. Its idea is to basically keep the bots and a lot of the other not so nice ones off the site. But part of me is thinking to myself, why are we paying for your mistakes? And you know who you are. Why are we paying for your mess ups? That's all I'll say. Just that. But in any event, we should be coming up in a couple of minutes. And once that comes on, I will be flinging it full screen, and then we'll get to it. But in the meantime, what's happening right about now is what is called engine chill. What they do on these rockets that use they use some cryogenics involved, like liquid oxygen, or in the case of the RS-25s, they use liquid hydrogen for fuel, and in the case for the BE-4 and the Raptor, they use LCH-4. What they'll do is they'll flow that into the various lines to get them down to operating temperature, and on top of that, to make sure that whichever cryogenics are in use are actually in liquid form when they go through that area. And in the case of the remaining RS-25s, those are regeneratively cooled. Basically, they flow the fuel, and I'm not sure if it's the fuel only or the fuel and the oxidizer through cooling channels on the combustion chamber as well as the nozzle to keep it cool. And on top of that, the other net result is that they become gaseous. Oh, and another note that I should probably make note of is that there will be no overlays for this stream, mainly because I'm trying to keep within Twitch's provisos. One of the other things I also should probably do as we're doing this, Patrick Space Force Base's 45th Weather Squadron has rated the weather as being 60% go for flight. So let me see see if anything has changed on that side of things. Let's see if they've scrubbed the launch, because like I always say, let's see, they're saying that Super Heavy is still going on. Looks like there's nothing that I can tell that is that could change anything. They say that they're starting at 8:59 p.m. and it's about 4 minutes from now. So I don't know the exact time they actually have it set for, but usually they say it's about 5 minutes before T0. So it's probably going to be about 8:04. So right now we have 50-50 for Rise or Rud. I like that. I love how they did it. Rise in blue and Rud in red. So Thus far, it is neck and neck. So we will see how things go. And what I'll probably do is I'll take another poll tomorrow, and of course we'll see what happens during the course of the we'll see what happens during the course of that, assuming it even goes up. I'm seeing next spaceflight a launch time of 9:05 p.m. PST. Not sure where they're getting that from. Let's see. Is that for Starlink? Because I know they do, sometimes they do push it back, depending on the circumstances. Oh wow! Now it's starting to. Now the RUD is starting to take it. So we got a 15-minute poll. Starlink 628. Yes, gotcha. Okay. But we'll stick around. We'll stick around. We'll keep the stream up and lit and have some fun. And from what I understand, I think they've actually pushed the launch time back a few hours. Let me go double check over on and see what's going on there. Let's see. It's still scheduled for about 5 o'clock 5 o'clock a.m. my time, 8 o'clock a.m. EST, and of course 1300 hours UTC. And it's a 20-minute launch window. So, and another bit of space news that I've recently heard is that the Star Chaser, which is by Dream Chaser, excuse me, by Sierra Space, they are going. It is fully put together and is ready to be launched. We don't know precisely when, but it should. From what I understand, it's going to be going up on I believe on a Falcon 9. Converting your time, the Starlink does launch at that time, according to Everyday Astronaut, at least. Okay. Let me double check just to be on the safe side. Upcoming launches. Yeah, 2105. That is about. Yeah, that is in fact. Yeah, that's exactly. That's usually where I get my times anyway. They actually didn't. I didn't see specifics on there. Let me see. Targeting back-to-back Falcon 9 launches. Looking on their Twitter there. Oh, hang on. Yeah, sorry about that, but yeah, I just took a look at that. Falcons really do have space planes, XB-37 and Dream Chaser. Yep, Dream Chaser, and I believe the name of that vehicle is Tenacity. I was talking with Puzzle Pulsar. He had mentioned to me that there was a part that apparently didn't get put in, so that was an interesting thing that happened, and apparently it was almost a showstopper, from what I understand. I don't remember the exact details, but yeah. Hey Chuck, since I know you're out there, get his butt in here. Nah, just kidding. Unless of course he wants to come here. But yeah, we basically were talking about how apparently somebody screwed up a part and now it has to be replaced. So anyway, that's what's going on right now. We've got that, and a little bit later next month, right around Christmas Eve, hopefully, if it doesn't get scrubbed, Christmas Eve is supposed to have a nice present for us. In this case, they're going to be doing a full integrated launch of Vulcan Centaur. They're going to be launching a vehicle that's supposed to head to the moon. And if what happened during the test firing that happened some months back over at Slick 41 goes according, if that was any indication of how things are going to go, it should be fine. Everything should be good to go. I don't know if it's if they're going to have any boosters attached to this one, but it will certainly be a full test of the Vulcan one, the Vulcan booster, and the Vulcan booster will replace Atlas, which just recently had its final DoD launch. I'm not sure if the National Reconnaissance Office is part of the DoD. It wouldn't surprise me if it were. But anyway, due to a law that went into effect, basically anything that has national security as a potential payload aboard, you cannot launch it with foreign-made power, such as the Atlas booster, because the Atlas booster uses the RD-180, which is made by NPO Energomash, a Russian company, and we get bellicose braying from former, at the time, Roscosmos head Dmitry Rogozin saying, "We're gonna, I mean, you get to go up to the go up to the ISS in broomsticks." And of course, one of the very next launches that had come after that, the oh shit, I need to go bring that up. Hang on a sec here. Normally I would prefer people. Let me do something real quick here. Let me see what I can find here. I can remember where I put that damn stream of mine. Ah, there it is. I'm gonna play this one. Basically, after they said, after that whole little stupidity with Rogozin, who has since been replaced by oh shucks, what's his name? Yuri Borisov, who seems to be a more level-headed guy, and Rogozin himself almost finds himself killed in a barrage. Anyway, after he had what he had to say to us, here's what an LD said during a launch. Assuming it. Oh, that's right. I don't have overlays. Anyway, let America's broomstick rise to the sound of freedom. LD is go for launch. So, of course, the first launch or two, it's going to be back to waiting for Blue Origin to figure out its engine manufacturing situation for Vulcan. Yeah, Blue Origin, of course, is the maker of the BE-4, two of which power the Vulcan booster, and I believe 7 of which will power its own vehicle, the New Glenn, the first stage of the New Glenn. Oh, trampoline. Yeah, right. Oh, wow. People are voting Rise now. Oh, this is going to get interesting. 64. Oh my God, man. You guys are going nuts. I love it. I love this. If anybody's watching over on the other channels, YouTube and VStream, right now we've got a survey going on. Right now, the question is: Starship and Super Heavy for IFT Integrated Flight 2, Rise or RUD? Rise, of course, being it lifts off and has a successful flight, or RUD, which is a very highly technical term. It stands for Rapid Unscheduled Disassembly, which is what happens whenever, which is a visual of which it happens every time I get rated on Twitch. It's called basically it has a Proton M rocket carrying 3 GLONASS satellites, which unfortunately had its which way is up sensors installed upside down forcibly. As in, Tim Dodd had a video on his Everyday Astronaut channel talking about the biggest RUDs in history. They talk about how the guy, whoever installed those sensors, must have put it in and made sure they stayed in, and did it with a hammer. And it's like, yeah, if it jams, force it. If it breaks, it needed replacing anyway. But anyway, yeah, that's bizarre. That's just bonkers that somebody would do that. I'd even go so far as to say, you know what? I'll bet you $1 million that was probably sabotage if I didn't know any better. I'm a Division 1 hater. RUD, FTW. Division 1. You have to bring me up to date on that. Hopefully we don't have another RUD. Rapid unscheduled digging in the launch. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh boy, that was a mess. Hopefully the water deluge system will keep that from happening. My God, what was in his mind? I want to see another Starship go boom. And 81% saying RUD. I love it. That's great. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting party. We're gonna have to do this during tomorrow's stream. So yeah, it's gonna be funny. Yeah, but yeah, basically what's going to happen is that, I mean, well, I guess apparently what happened is that when things went wayward, things didn't exactly go to plan as far as flight termination, because it started falling and falling, and on top of that, things were not just going sideways, it was going sideways, literally. What time is Starship? Its T0 is right around 5 a.m. Pacific, or about 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, which is the time zone where it's located in this case, Boca Chica, Texas. So I should probably go eat now. I'll be back before lunch. Yeah, go consume something. Enjoy. And yeah, and of course it's great to have you here. And but yeah, this is crazy. Let me see if I can go dig up that one thing where they have. Oh, and another thing that happened recently. I'm very glad I'm in CST. Maybe then I won't have to wake up so early. Ah, yeah. Because me, I'm probably gonna stay up all the way to the time that it launches. So we'll see what happens. All right. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. Let me also dig up one other thing, which was the final. They also recently had the final launch of an Antares 230 Plus, which is a combination between a Ukrainian-built fuselage and two Russian-built engines. In this case, the company is Yuzhnoye, based out of Dnipro, and of course NPO Energomash again, only this time with the RD-181, which is a single chamber engine, much like the RD-180. The only difference between that and the RD-181 is the RD-180 has two combustion chambers and two nozzles, but they share a common turbopump, and it itself is in turn based on the RD-170, which is at the base of the Zenit booster, which originally flew up with the Energia rocket, which launched the Buran, as well as the ill-fated Polius satellite. And the RD-170 is a four-chambered engine, also using a shared turbopump. Basically, what had happened was when it came to the RD-170, that was actually Russia's solution, come to a different solution for figuring out how to make a big-ass engine without instabilities happening, much like America was having with the F-1 over at Rocketdyne, what was called Rocketdyne at the time. Basically, what they did for the F-1 is they basically put baffles on the injection plate. And Curious Droid has a great video that talks about it. Basically, what happens is that, and I think also Scott Manley has a good video too. What happens is that they originally made the injection plate that spanned the entire bottom of the very top of the throat of the combustion chamber. The problem is because of the size of that, you'd get hot spots and it would move around, and apparently they did it so much that it would destroy the engine. So instead, they sort of went back to their roots. In this case, the engines that powered the German V2, the V2 rocket. Basically, if you looked on the inside of the injection plate, the injector plate of the injection side of the V2's engine combustion chamber, you have small little clusters of injectors. And they said, what if we went that route? The thing is, how do we make a change without making too radical a change? So what they did, they put baffles in there, basically putting little panels, basically putting each small little area of injectors, and they probably all roughly had the same surface area. And then in order to test that, they lit the engine off. They lit an engine off in a test stand, then put a little explosive under there to disrupt the flame. It disrupted it caused the flame to destabilize, all right, but it went right back to normal. The net result, all missions involving F-1 engines, flawless. Almost 10 years away from 3D printed rocket nozzles. Actually, technically, we're much of the way there already. In fact, a good bunch of Rocket Lab stuff is 3D printed. They talk about the, in fact, one of the interesting things, speaking of that, that is probably the way you get a lot of the cooling channels that were originally complex, whether it's the RL10, the F1, or anything else that uses regenerative cooling. They had to put in little pipes and stuff like that and braze it all together. But instead, nowadays, and what they did with the RS-25, I saw a short about that, which is rather interesting. What they did is they mill the combustion chamber and they mill in the cooling channels, and then what they do is they put wax into those cooling channels, electroplate it by putting it in an electroplating bath. And then they heat it up and get rid of all the wax, and boom, there are your chambers. There are your cooling passages. There are some reported repeatability issues currently. Yeah, but yeah, a lot of the stuff that Rocket Lab does is 3D printed for their engines. But in the meantime, the other thing that they're doing right now is, I know Relativity Space is working very hard on being the first to make a fully 3D printed rocket. Oh, hey, I've seen that video. What an interesting way of manufacturing. Another way of talking about it is additive manufacturing is what a lot of people are. I mean, I've heard one person call 3D printing. The idea of being able to, hang on a second, I'm going to grab a real quick drink because I'm a little bit on the thirsty side. But anyway, the idea behind that is that all the stuff will already be in there. So you don't have to do crazy stuff like brazing, welding, and all that other difficult things. As a matter of fact, one of the problem, there was a problem that almost one of the final flights before Columbia went in to get a glass cockpit installed, which only lasted maybe a couple missions until, before it got destroyed in STS-107. One of the things that happened apparently is when they were repairing a cooling channel in one of the RS-25s, apparently something happened with one of the things that they would use to plug up some of the things just to make sure that it didn't go somewhere it couldn't, or where it shouldn't. It almost caused the there was almost a problem with that particular mission. That was with the launch of the Chandra X-ray Observatory, and also had the first female commander, Eileen Collins. Yeah, the gold bullet incident, that is the one. That is the one. I just couldn't remember the specifics about that. Like, I knew it was I knew it had to do with gold, and I forgot the bullet portion of it. But yeah, that's the one. That is indeed the one. And I think Scott Manley actually has a video on that, where they talk about what happened during that particular mission. So it is about 8:15. We are still waiting on. Let me see. Let me take a look at my browser. Yeah, starting at 8:59 p.m. is when they're going to start the coverage. But yeah, about 7. Like I said, 7 minutes before launch is when they do the they start flowing oxidizer into the turbo pumps as well as the lines, just to make sure that everything's at operating temperature prior to launch. So anyway, I'm just checking on a couple things real quick here. One of the things I'm probably going to go ahead and do in the meantime, if 2 more cooling channels ruptured, the engine would have failed. 3 were punctured. Very close call. Oh, yes. Not to mention, from what I understand, also because of that, they actually had a fuel leak near the very end of the burn, which caused MECO to happen earlier than nominal. But not so. But not enough to the point where they it didn't represent a danger. It stopped about 30 seconds sooner than it should. They were able to use the ohm system in order to get them into the right orbit, so that was not a problem. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, let me go pull up Northrop Grumman's. No, it's probably going to be NASA, because that's one of the things I wanted to cover, which was I wanted to cover at the time, and that was the final launch of the Antares vehicle. Let's see. So that was about 3 months ago. Let me see. And of course, what will ultimately replace it, I don't remember the exact designation, but it's in the process of being designed by Northrop Grumman and with the cooperation of Firefly Aerospace. And of course, Firefly Aerospace has the Alpha vehicle, which is a rather interesting, which uses an interesting way of running their turbopumps called the tap off cycle, where basically they take the hot gases coming from the combustion chamber and use that to drive the turbopump. Going the other way, they use the RL-10 uses what is called the gas expander cycle, where they use where they take the fuel or oxidizer that's going through the cooling loops on the engine and combustion chamber. As it's turning from a cryogenic liquid to a gas, it's then used to drive the turbopump, which then drives, of course, the propellants into the tank, into the combustion chamber. Pardon me. Have you seen their Miranda test engine on the stand? No, I have not. I need to see that. Let me see if I can figure out where that is. Let's see, NG-19. That's the name of the mission. I'm trying to find the NASA stream for that. Let's see here. They posted it on their Twitter. Oh yeah, I need to go get that. That's Miranda. That is I'm trying to remember. Is that Firefly Aerospace? Okay. I think I'm following them. Let's see. D17. That was the Piers Sellers one. Another thing to note about that: the only actual payload that Antares ever launches is the Cygnus vehicle, which is actually going to be launched on a Falcon 9 in the meantime, as well as the Atlas Centaur. And ultimately, it will be flying, and it'll probably also fly possibly aboard the Vulcan Centaur as well, until the new vehicle that Northrop Grumman and Firefly finish putting together. Let's see if I can remember. I need to go find that real quick here. Previous launches. I'm gonna try and get the excuse me. Oh, RUD is 78%. Let's I'm gonna go tweet that real quick just for grins here. Let me go pop that out for just, oh shoot, I can't do that. I'll do that later on. Although the certain eccentric billionaire who shall not be named would probably not like it too much, but I don't know. But to be fair, to be 100% fair to him, when it comes to this stuff, he actually says, I fully expect it to RUD, or words to that effect, if that makes any sense. So let me see. If I can figure out where I put that. Hang on. Nope, not that one. Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I was wanting. If I can remember. Damn, I wish this site had a well, yes, it does, as it turns out. There it is. I'm going to bring up the NASA replay because I can do that legally. Copy. What we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to switch over to YouTube real quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up to the point. I'm going to find out, first of all, where they, I'm going to put it up to the point where they, let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna put it to about T-minus 5 minutes. Let's see here. 26 minutes 55 seconds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate that to the number of seconds, and then actually, you know what? I think it actually allows me to input it directly. Hang on just a minute. YouTube. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pause this for a sec. I'm going to roll it, and then as soon as it hits T-minus 5 minutes, we'll go ahead and we're going to go to the we're going to go ahead and go to the replay. Okay, here we go. And basically, this is the final launch of the Antares 230 Plus, powered by Yuzhnoye and NPO Energomash.
LC Ops 1, all internal power.
Basically, it has a liquid-fueled first stage, which is the Antares portion of it, and the upper stage is a Castor 30 Plus, 30 XL, 30 Plus. I can't remember the exact designation. I think it's 30 XL. And basically, what that does is that actually puts it in orbit. And then, of course, the thrusters aboard Cygnus will actually bring it up there. Hey, Bryce, how you doing? I hope you're doing all right.
Ops 1 to go to send all armed command.
Let's see. I need to make sure I can hear what's going on. Oh, there we go.
LC Elec 1, safe and arms, and ODMs are all armed.
NASA TV, report range status. Range is green.
And right now there's T-minus 4 minutes. We're actually waiting on the they pushed back the launch to about 9:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Check step 434.
Or 12:05 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
From launch, the team's reporting that the range is green. Antares makes a southeastern track down the.
And this is being launched from the Mars Zero or Mid-Atlantic
Antares, and in this night sky.
Mid-Atlantic Range Spaceport. I forget what the R stands for in any event.
There might be some cloud cover.
But basically, there are two pads that I know for sure there. There's that one, which is Antares, which is where Northrop Grumman launches their stuff. And nearby is the North American launch site of Electron or Rocket Lab.
Copy that. Check 437.
T-minus 3 minutes and counting on this one.
Elec 1 to LC, auto sequence startup. Copy, Elec 1. Be advised you're coming in faint.
ODM bus voltages and currents are nominal.
They're doing final checks before they do that, and they've already said that range is green.
Verify ready for nav mode.
And this is the SS Laurel Clark, who was aboard, who was one of the payload, I believe, one of the payload specialists for STS-107. She perished aboard along with her 6 crewmates, commanded by Rick Husband, and also featured the first Israeli astronaut Ilan Ramon as their vehicle was re-entering the Earth's atmosphere.
Copy that. We'll check 442. And we're
2
at
minutes.
T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
and they're doing final preparations. And of course, that cloud there being oxygen venting off from the tank, because as they enter, I don't think they don't necessarily insulate these tanks, so they have to keep topping it off with liquid oxygen, and they'll cease topping it off just before launch.
30 seconds.
Within 90 seconds of launch of this particular vehicle. In fact, there they go. They just stopped replenishing the LO2 side of the vehicle on the booster side. Remember in a server in KF and that you and KF were in, we prompted the creation of a dedicated channel for these things, about 4-hour discussion of this in general chat. Oh, that was
1 minute.
We're about ready to launch. Everything is green. We're just watching the final launch of the Antares 230 Plus ahead of Falcon 9. They may have weather issues right now because they did say 60% chance of go. So things can happen between now and then.
T-minus 30 seconds.
And coming up on 20. 20.
T-minus
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Delusion enabled. RD-181 ignition and liftoff of Antares 230 Plus, carrying the Cygnus resupply craft, the Laurel Clark, up to the International Space Station. The vehicle has cleared the tower.
Taking Northrop Grumman's commercial resupply mission 19 into orbit to the International Space Station.
And that's a word you want to hear throughout a launch, and that is things are going nominally. This burn lasts for about 4 to 4.5 minutes, after which point they will separate the first and second stages. They will coast for about 10 seconds, and then the Castor 30 XL is ignited. R&D is complete. Ooh, interesting.
Station is nominal. Remain at 100% thrust and steady. Stage 1 TBC is nominal.
Attitude nominal.
Vehicle attitude remains nominal. Power is nominal.
Vehicle passing through max Q.
That means it has just experienced the highest amount of atmospheric pressure as it goes through the denser portions of the lower atmosphere, usually also hitting Mach 1 just before going through max Q. It's also called maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Core pressurization valves are nominal. Engines remain nominal and steady. LCA, your go.
Godspeed, Antares.
Thank you, LCA.
Also want to check, is it too loud, or do I need to change levels?
30,000 feet.
Attitude nominal.
Attitude remains nominal.
Perfect. And the reason why the flame is thinning out is because it's going into the upper reaches of the upper atmosphere. After which point they will shut the engines down, separate the two stages, and then ignite the Castor 30 XL. And shortly thereafter, they will actually, I think, right around the same time, they're going to right around the time they ignite the engine, they will have already separated the fairing halves. The fairings are aerodynamic protection devices to keep the vehicle, to protect the payload from aerodynamic forces as it goes through the atmosphere.
Core position is nominal. We're approximately 40 seconds from MECO.
Talking about 40 seconds from main engine cutoff, or MECO.
Slow throttle down has begun.
Attitude nominal.
TBC preset down slow.
I wonder if they're going to actually show the the cutoff and ignition of the second stage from the ground.
Seconds until main engine cutoff.
Rapid throttle down, steady 55% thrust.
They usually throttle down before shutting the engines down.
And we have main engine cutoff.
They call main engine cutoff. They should be separating the stages now, and after which point, there goes the, we now have animations based on telemetry data.
We have stage separation.
Have stage separations, and they're in the process of adjusting the attitude using various thrusters.
And Terry's into the clouds on this hazy evening.
They coast for a bit, and then they're going to go ahead and they're going to pop off the fairing house as well as ignite the Castor 30XL second stage engine.
Stage 1 ignition expected, probably stage 2 ignition expected in approximately 10 seconds.
There go the fairing halves.
Fairing is separated.
And there goes another shroud at the base covering the second stage. And we have ignition of the Castor 30XL.
Second stage solid rocket motor has ignited.
Power remains nominal.
And also look at the telemetry data. You'll see where it says apogee and perigee. Notice the perigee, which is the lowest point of the orbit. It puts itself straight into the planet. And the minute the numbers go positive, that means its orbit is very likely. Especially if it's at least 50 kilometers or better. Ideally at least 100 kilometers, because 100 kilometers is what is called the Kármán line, which is the internationally accepted border to space.
Power remains nominal.
And this burns for about 2 minutes. 2.5 minutes.
TVC remains nominal in stage 2.
And what normally happens is at that point it is an elliptical orbit, meaning it's not a circular orbit. It has a high point and a low point. The high point being the apogee and the low point being the perigee.
Attitude still nominal.
And if it's a crewed mission, what they'll do is they'll deliberately make it a very, very, very long suborbital flight. The idea behind that is in case something goes wrong, they can come back to Earth in a hurry. That's exactly how they did it with the Boeing CST-100 Starliner during its uncrewed mission to the International Space Station last summer.
Stage 2 TVC remains nominal. Power is nominal.
And a lot of the technologies that go into the Castor 30XL go into the SRBs for various other missions, like the SRBs that go onto the sides of the SLS, and prior to that, to the space shuttle and in the Atlas booster. They'll sometimes use what are called the GEM 63, or GEM standing for graphite epoxy motors, with anywhere between 1 and 5 of them affixed to the side of the vehicle. The most recent one, which was which I believe was which of course was the Silent Barker mission, or NRL 107, I think had five SRBs connected to it.
Beginning to tail off in the motor pressure, and
we
have stage 2 burnout.
And there it is, 177 kilometers of perigee, which means vehicle is in orbit.
6 minutes, 55 seconds into the flight.
And 51.6 degrees is the inclination against the Earth's equator, which matches that of the International Space Station. The only thing they have to do now is adjust the orbit, and one of the first things they have to do is circularize the orbit, and then from there they'll do what is called a Hohmann's maneuver, which uses orbital phasing to make it such that it doesn't have to use doesn't need a lot of delta V or change in velocity to catch up with the International Space Station, or in some cases make it come to them. Because one thing to bear in mind is in relation to the ground, it's even though it's always pretty much 17,500 miles per hour going around the Earth for Earth orbital speed, the higher it is, the slower the vehicle will be in relation to the ground. In this case, real close to the ground is like 90 minutes. At geostationary orbit distances, which is about 25,000 miles, it's straight over one point of the Earth.
Shortly after spacecraft separation, we'll have a representative from the International Space Station program online to provide some comments on the
Oh
flight
dear,
of
somebody forgot to
Antares
activate
and,
Windows, I see.
some comments on Cygnus's journey to the International Space Station. We'll plan to wrap our coverage shortly after orbital insertion, but please stay tuned for updates online on the solar array unfurl.
And the way these work is that they use what looks essentially like an Uchiwa fan for deploying a solar array. Although in this case, one side is the actually goes ahead and opens up the fan, opens up the.
Vehicle continues to coast prior to payload separation.
And there we have it. The Cygnus craft has separated from the Castor 30 XL.
And the flight control teams confirm the visuals you're seeing here on the animation. Cygnus has separated from the Antares second stage, flying free and beginning its journey to the International Space Station.
All right, launch team, LC on Countdown Net. We're going to go ahead and proceed with our post-launch checklist. We've confirmed that we've had Cygnus separation. Congratulations to the Cygnus team, and that sound you heard a little earlier was a mic drop.
Anyway, we're going to go back to the chatting window for a sec here. Anyway, another note about Laurel Clark. About the Laura Clark and various other Cygnus missions. They all are named after late astronauts or various other well-known figures in the United States space program. One of which was named for the I can't remember her name, but she was one of the main people who was involved with the computations on Apollo 11. Making sure everything. Well, no, maybe it wasn't Apollo 11. I believe it was actually was either Apollo 11 or Alan Shepard's launch, Freedom 7. I'll have to look that up real quick. Let's see here. I'll look it up real quick here. Katherine Johnson, which was NG-15. She did a lot of math work for the. Let me go ahead and look this up real quick here. And she passed away in 2020. And she was one of the most. Let me see, where did I? There it is. Not this page. But anyway, yeah, it was helping the they were helping the Luna, basically doing this. She was doing stuff for the Apollo program, and without her work, a lot of that stuff would have been. Basically, she did an enormous. She contributed an enormous amount to the space program, especially to our flight to the moon. And next year, a person of color will be visiting the moon, albeit in a flyby. In this case, Victor Glover, who was aboard Crew 1, which I covered quite literally 3 years ago, 2 days ago. But yeah, that's another thing. This is sort of to tie in with my my streaming anniversary, which happened basically a couple days ago. I have not been streaming much lately, mainly because I've been working so hard and I've been actually bicycling to and from work. So and on top of that, I'm trying to see what else I can stream now. But yeah, finally get some. But I also, now that I have VStream, I wanted to at least show people there what I do. And thank you, Bryce. I appreciate that. But yeah, but yeah, for those people who, in case you didn't catch it earlier, we had I took a vote over on my Twitch stream. Rise or Rud, which is it going to be for IFT2, the IFT2 flight of Starship and Super Heavy tomorrow, and 78% say RUD, and 22% say rise. In this case, rise in this particular context means it goes and does a full orbit. I mean, it goes into even something resembling. It actually gets to the point where it could actually orbit, but like I said before, crewed missions tend to be they start out suborbital. So basically, if after all the checks things are looking good, then they proceed by firing thrusters to elevate or at least circularize the orbit. Because originally they start off with an elliptical orbit, and then they start to use their thrusters to adjust it to make it more circular, and then from there they use orbital phasing maneuvers, so they can use as little energy as possible to catch up to the International Space Station for ultimate docking. And in the case of what comes up with Star Chaser, Dream Chaser rather, that will actually be a berthing where the remote manipulator system will grasp onto the vehicle and bring it to a berthing port. If it rises, I will have to go to a Division 2 hater. That way I'm looking, either way I'm looking forward to it. Yep. Yes, can't wait for that. This is going to be an interesting, it's going to be an interesting show tomorrow, assuming it actually goes up. Because like they said, there were some actuator issues with one of the grid fins, I believe on Super Heavy, although no, I was just thinking to myself, I wonder if there was anything like that on Starship, but no, they have the big huge body flaps that do all the Hello there, how you doing? Always an interesting show. Indeed it is. And hopefully we will get to see the hopefully things, I mean, we hope things are we hope for the best, but of course they're always preparing for the worst. And Musk himself has said on occasion, especially with just the Starship launches, even the first one, he fully expected it to not even get as high as it did. So when he got that, and he got the fly, and it actually started to descend, and then fires the engines up to bring it down, even though it didn't exactly come down softly, at least it came down, which is kind of important. So in any event, the at least this time they'll actually be able to destroy the vehicle if something goes significantly sideways. There is always a possibility of scrub. Yeah, that's one of the causes. That's one of the particular causes of scrubs, where they have mechanical issues, or they see some issues on the ground, whether it's a connection on a computer or a faulty sensor or what have you, or a leak. As was the case with what happened during one of the scrubs last year for SLS, and one almost happened during the course of the final countdown. But apparently they managed to get everything in. They actually had to replace an Ethernet switch out there, and it's like, damn, what an IT job to have. Go out and change an Ethernet switch, which is vital for a launch of a space vehicle, especially if it happens to have crew on it. This one didn't, but you get it. So I'm looking at the so anyway, let's see, any other items of note in recent history. But yeah, basically what's going on right now, let's see, it's quarter till right now, so about another 10 minutes or so, we're gonna get real close. I don't have it running right now. Let me, oh shucks, how am I don't know if I can actually refund that to you, but no, I don't have that running right at the moment. I could go get it fired up, and give me a sec here. Let's go here. Especially considering the fact I can't do this on the other channels just yet. I don't know if they have any kind of redemption plate. 200 points to me, it's fine. Yeah, okay. But anyway, it's already starting, and you're going to see a couple of things come up in just a moment here. Up it comes. Let's go ahead and shut that down. Let's go ahead and hide that. In case you're wondering what my tits do, as in, oh yeah, mildly embarrassing there. Ooh, that one hurt a bit. That was like an S100 card. Yeah, it stands for Twitch Interactive Throwing System. I don't know what got into the guy's head to call it that, but yeah, whatever. So, but yeah, and for those who don't know, I run my stream on 4 computers. I'm seated at 1, which is my fire-breathing Ryzen 7 5800X, 64 gigs of RAM, and about 22 terabytes of spinning Rust storage, and about 2.5 terabytes worth of NVMe, which I'm presently not using to full capacity yet. Then I have 3 computers above me. All 3 of them are Core i7 6700s. 2 of them with 32 gigs, 1 with 16. The one that I'm running VTube Studio on is a Hewlett-Packard ProDesk 600 G2. And oh, not too bad. I showed the final launch of the Northrop Grumman the Northrop Grumman Antares 230 Plus, which of course sent the Laurel Clark up to the ISS. So anyway, there's that, and we are about, let me see, bring this up here. There it is. It's starting in about 10 minutes. So in about 3 minutes, well, actually, I don't know what the actual revised look here. I asked Saturn mentioned Saturn mentioned the interesting conversations we had after that. Oh yeah, he did. Mentioned 4-hour discussion on that launch that prompted our nerd channel in Grinberg. Oh yeah, in Grinberg Cord, yeah. Oh, wow, same brain cell. Nice. But yeah, that's always fun to do. Just sit and BS about something like that, especially if it's something that could potentially have historic implications, because right now what's coming up tomorrow will have potentially historic implications for future travel to the moon. Of course, next year will be the first planned flyby since 1968, which of course was Apollo 8, where we famously got to see Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about it on another on one stream, saying where this one person says, we have all these people, 12 men went to the moon, and we got them back a bunch of rocks, and deGrasse Tyson pretty much lit up on the guy, saying, we went up to the moon and we discovered Earth. It sounds weird, it sounds kind of mundane, but when you think about it, especially the way he rationalized it, he said, when you go up high off the Earth, you don't see necessarily the divisions between countries. You don't see political boundaries. You see the Earth for what it really honestly is. And it's called the overview effect. It can happen as low as, say, 13 miles above the surface of the planet when James May, originally of Top Gear, went up in a U-2 spy plane, probably out of Beale Air Force Base, which is about 70 or 80 miles north of here, in a U-2 spy plane, and of course the folks from the Apollo astronauts saw it from the moon, from about 250,000 miles away. And of course, the oldest person to ever go to space, William Shatner, when he was aboard New Shepard, he too had that same exact feeling. It's called, like I said, it's the overview effect, where you look at the Earth and you're overcome with a certain feeling like, this thing is delicate. This thing is, what are we doing to this planet? We need to do something. I mean, he was apparently suffused with emotion, because it's like, this planet is extremely fragile. We can't afford to do anything and to mess it up. Someday we'll have people feeling that as they fly home from Mars, hopefully. Well, again, I mean, I've been hearing a lot of other things that are basically saying a Mars mission is probably not going to be in our lifetimes, potentially. Because the main issue that they have to deal with, apart from the fact it takes 8 months to get there, and you only have a couple of good times per year in order to launch. I think it's like and on top of that, it takes 8 months to get there, and you get 2 good times every 24 months, because Mars's orbital period is about twice that of Earth's around the sun. And on top of that, not just that, it's the radiation out there that can kill you. And Mars, unlike the Earth, does not have a magnetic field to divert or trap any kind of radiation that's coming inbound, e.g. X-rays, ultraviolet, gamma, cosmic radiation. But that stuff in sufficient quantities can kill you. And on top of that, that says nothing of Mars's atmosphere, which is primarily carbon dioxide, albeit not nearly the concentrations that, say, are on Venus, which is basically the ultimate greenhouse effect gone completely awry. We're talking like 900 plus degrees on the surface, 900 plus degrees, I believe it's Celsius on the surface of Venus, which is 1,000 plus degrees Fahrenheit for those of us who live in the U.S. and places who still use that. Yes, it is very, very hot. And in fact, I think there were a grand total of, like 3 or 4. I don't remember the exact numbers, but the Soviet Union sent several probes to Venus, the Venera series, and they managed to, while we sent stuff out to Mars, they sent stuff to Venus. I think Venus used to be similar to our primordial Earth at some point. Yeah, that is true. Venus is about the same size as our planet. The only thing though is that its day is longer than its year. It's probably on the order of a couple weeks long. It takes a few weeks longer, a few days or a few weeks longer to rotate about its axis than it does to revolve around the planet, around the sun. So yeah, and so it's very much a so it's a very hot, and it's also very acidic on the planet. From what I understand, it rains like sulfuric acid on the surface of Venus. So let's go take a look and see what's going on. I'm waiting on that. We're about 5 minutes away. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with me for this time. It has been an interesting. I hope everybody's enjoying what's going on here. Sulfuric acid vapor, sulfuric acid vapor atmosphere. Sure sounds fun. Yeah, I'll bet it does. How different would space race have been if Venus was habitable? You know, that's a good question. That really is a good question. Whether it would have been if it were hospitable for life, which in theory it could be for certain types of life. Would be interesting though is to send tardigrades up there to see if they can actually handle the heat and acidity of the Venusian atmosphere. But from my understanding, if we're going to do something about if we were to go and colonize Venus, it wouldn't necessarily be on the planet's surface. It would probably be like in cloud colonies, like for example, if you look at Empire Strikes Back, the planet of Bespin, which apparently is a gas, while being a gas giant, apparently the gaseous atmosphere. That's the other thing about Venus's atmosphere. It is very, very dense, much denser than that on Earth. In fact, that's one of the biggest things that the Venera probes had to overcome was the enormously crushing atmospheric pressure on Venus. That's why you see the pictures of the of replicas of the probes. They're spherical in shape. And oh, before I do that, I also need to double check, make sure I have the right. Let's see. Not the one. There we go. Above the clouds is usually 75 Fahrenheit or so, and maybe the tardigrades could survive. That's true. But on the surface of the planet, I doubt they would be able to survive, especially with the atmosphere composition and pressure. That's on top of that, of carbon dioxide being quite the suffocant. It's actually quite dense. So, anyway, we are a few minutes away from the start, and I'm hoping we can get this to work. I've already got everything set up. This is my first time doing this. It's been a little while since I've done that. I actually also originally moved over to a fully installed copy of OBS Studio 30 on my gaming machine, but unfortunately, a key plugin wasn't working right, despite the fact that it was actually installed. I had to go back to release candidate 2 for that to work, and I'm gonna have to talk with Exceldro saying, "Hey, this source stock isn't working." I mean, the surface is hot enough to melt lead, so I doubt they will last long, if at all. Yeah. So we will see. Okay. Oh yeah, one of the things I'm going to go ahead and do real quick is do a quick refresh on that. There we go. Okay, there we go. Just waiting on the stream to start. We can get coverage going of the launch of Starlink 628. And Starlink 628 will be delivering 23 Starlink satellites into a 43 inclination orbit, which is where I don't know what the exact altitude is, but the initial altitude will be about 230 some odd kilometers, and then what they'll do is they'll likely circularize the orbit first on the other side of the planet when it hits apogee. A few minutes later, after they make sure everything is stable, they will go ahead and release all the satellites. They probably won't do this on stream, instead waiting until later and announcing it on their social media platforms. And right around this time, they should if it's 5 minutes before, they should have already done engine chill, where they chill the engines down. And also on top of that, they should be finished with propellant loading on both stages of the vehicle, of both propellant types. Here we go. And we're going to wait for the music to finish up, and then I'll go ahead and go full screen. Because apparently I got nailed by by Twitch's algorithm. I don't know if the SpaceX did anything or what happened, but anyway, that's what happened on one of my streams. Okay, so we're waiting on that to come up. So I've got the source open and running. All I have to do now is wait for the actual. Yep, I know. I've got it live, and everything is. I'm monitoring it as we speak right now. I'm just waiting on the actual coverage to start. And remember, there's a 60% chance of go for launch. That I don't know what the current thing is, because they only do it like L-1 day, where they do where Patrick releases their Patrick's 45th Weather Squadron releases their information on their website. Anyway, both For those who don't know what the Falcon 9 is, it is a two-stage, partially reusable launch system. First stage is reusable, second stage is not. First stage launches, gets it off the ground. Here we go.
Back retract.
They are getting ready to do the strong back retract, which is that girder-like structure that goes up alongside the vehicle. That black area that you see mid vehicle from the top, middle from the top, that is the interstage, which inside, if you could look inside, is the second stage engine, the vacuum optimized Merlin 1D engine, or the MVAC engine as it's called. Both stages are powered by. Both sides are powered by. They are now retracting the strong back. They are opening a clamp, which is just below the fairing, which is that bulbous thing at the top, and that shields the payload from any kind of aerodynamic and possibly acoustic loading. Opinion on stubby MVAC? Looks kind of weird. It caught me off guard the first time I saw it, which was a couple of transporter missions ago. Ooh, excuse me. T-minus 4 minutes. And they should be angling back the strong back. So, given the weather, we may see we may or may not hear a startup at T-minus 1 minute. But anyway, this is a two-stage vehicle. They're powered by RP1, which is a highly refined form of kerosene, and liquid oxygen for the oxidizer. And you'll see, and sometimes you'll see a little green light at the base of the vehicle when the vehicle gets ready to lift off. That is what is called TTEB, or triethyl aluminum triethyl borane, which is a pyrophoric substance, which means it catches fire in the presence of oxygen. And all these clouds that you're seeing is the oxygen, liquid oxygen that's venting off. Despite its hate, I have to admit it's grown on me. If we will ever see an MVAC with very little to no extension at all someday. That's a good question. It all depends on if they ever need a mission that doesn't require nearly the energy a full-size MVAC nozzle has. Because one of the things that they just finished LOX load complete on the first stage, and with a minute later following by the second stage LOX load complete. And after that, they will vent the lines in the transporter erector or strongback. They call it the transporter erector because it transports it out from the hangar where it's integrated in the horizontal position and then erected vertically. And coming up on T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There's the call. All propellant loading is completed. They're now in the process of they're securing the LO2, and they've probably already secured the RP1 lines. They're in the process of purging the lines in the TE lines. There goes a big cloud of liquid oxygen immediately boiling and vaporizing in the atmosphere, also with a lot of moisture in the air. Remember, this still could be scrubbed. T-minus 90 seconds.
Ground gas closeouts.
They're closing out all the gases, and also they will also have transferred from ground-based power to power aboard Falcon 9 itself. And at T-minus 1 minute, a number of things will happen. Control of the vehicle and countdown will be transferred to computers aboard Falcon 9 in a process called startup, and they will start to pressurize all the propellant tanks at that point in time as well. Coming up, T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
There's the call. Vehicle, payload, ground crews, and the range are all go for launch, waiting for a launch director call for launch status.
SpaceX launch director, go for launch.
There's the call. Everything is go for launch. Coming up at T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds and counting.
T-minus 30 seconds.
20. 15.
15 seconds.
10,
T-minus 10,
9,
9,
8,
8,
7,
7,
6,
6,
5,
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1,
Ignition.
engine
And
power,
liftoff of
liftoff
Falcon 9 carrying the Starlink
Go
Group
Falcon,
628
go
mission headed to a 43-degree inclination against the equator, and the vehicle has cleared the tower.
Vehicle is pitching down range.
Vehicle is going is pitching down range to place it above water in the event of an abort scenario. It is now passing through the cloud cover, and at about 50 and during this time it will also be reducing throttle on all 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the first stage, reducing the stresses on the vehicle as it gets ready to enter the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q, at about T plus 50 seconds. And just before that it will reach Mach 1.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Everything's looking good so far. And we're about to go supersonic.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
There's the call. Vehicle has breached Mach 1 and is about to enter the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q, standing by.
Max Q.
There's the call. Vehicle is now exiting at maximum aerodynamic pressure, or max Q, throttling all 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the vehicle to full thrust. And it will be burning for another minute or so, after which point they will start throttling the engines down in advance of staging, where they separate the first and second stages.
MVAC chill has started.
They've started chilling the MVAC engine to do the same thing as they did on the 9 sea-level Merlin 1D engines, preparing it for bringing everything to operational temperatures in advance of ignition after staging. At about T plus two and a half minutes, they will have MECO, or main engine cutoff, at which point they will separate the stages, the first and second stages. At that point, they will have MVAC ignition, and then get the second stage ready to go, start to land, get ready to land. And a little bit before crossing the Kármán line, the fairings will pop off, exposing the payload to space. Coming up on MECO momentarily. Stand by. There's the interior of the MVAC engine.
Main engine cut off.
They called MECO.
Stage separation.
We have saging.
MVAC ignition.
They've called MVAC ignition, and we have MVAC ignition. There's the T-tab green, or the boron component of it, glowing green. And the red-hot engine that you see on the right-hand side is perfectly normal. That is a niobium engine, niobium engine nozzle. It's shorter on missions like the transporter missions because it doesn't need nearly as much energy. And those are the grid fins that are deploying. You may or may not see little white puffs that are coming out. Those are cold gas nitrogen thrusters. And there's the interior of the fairings. They're about ready to pop them off. There they go. And we've just breached the Kármán line. We're now in space. Now that we're past the Kármán line, we don't need those fairing halves anymore. On the left-hand side, we're seeing the left visuals from the second stage, which is still, the first stage rather, which is still going up. It is slowing down. And basically, there are two different cooling methods that are going on with the MVAC engine over there. They use one which is called... Ow! Ow, 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 ow! That hurt! Oh, God, a lot of beta video cassettes being thrown at me.
Both stages are following nominal trajectories.
And now we have, they are now, basically they're using what is called film cooling, where they take the sooty exhaust from the MVAC engine's gas generator and put it between the flame and the wall of the combustion chamber and the top of the nozzle, as well as the throat, and that is a film cooling. And then the other is radiative cooling, by way of the engine radiating, the nozzle radiating all the heat into space. Yeah, I'm a big AV nerd. I will freely admit that. So anyway, we are the MVAC burn lasts for about 6 minutes. And that's the part that it does, that brings it up to orbital speed and also will help circularize the orbit. Not all missions will use a circularizing burn from the MVAC. And we're coming up on the first of 2 burns. There's the interior of the inner stage where the MVAC once was. There's a little pusher into that at the end of that tripod, which pushes into the throat of the MVAC engine to push it away at the time of staging. Many other rocket vehicles use thrusters to pull to push them apart. But a lot of these are using stuff like mechanical pushers to reduce the amount of stuff that gets burned. And first, coming up is the first of 2 burns that the first stage will perform during its descent back to the ground. In this case, it's going to be landing on a drone ship downrange.
Stage 1, FTS has safed.
They have turned off the flight termination
Stage
system
1,
because it's
entry
so
burn
far
startup.
downrange, where it's not a problem. They're now doing the entry burn. They are lighting 3 engines. First, the center one, number 9, followed by engines 1 and 5 to slow it down. And the burn lasts about 20 seconds. They're going to shut down those engines in reverse order.
Stage
9 and 1
2,
first,
FTS
and
has
then
saved.
5 and 1
Stage
first,
1,
then
entry burn
number 9.
shutdown.
And just before landing, they will ignite the center engine one final time and touch it down on the drone ship. And hopefully we'll get to see visuals from both the drone ship as well as the vehicle itself. And the second stage is still performing nominally, that we can tell. And you can see some of the thruster firings. And the reason they call it cold gas nitrogen thrusters is because they're not actually burning anything. They're just spraying nitrogen gas out of the vehicle for very minor course corrections. And then as it enters the atmosphere, those grid fins will take some authority and be able to steer the vehicle around a bit.
Stage 1, transonic.
They're now below the speed of sound. And we're coming up on the landing burn. Followed shortly thereafter by SECO 1, which is the second stage engine cutoff. I believe there will be 2 burns in this mission. This first burn, which gets it to orbital velocity, I think we're seeing a view from the first stage on the left-hand side.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
We're about to get ignition. There we go. We got ignition of the
Stage
center
1,
engine, number
landing
9. It is now in the process of slowing down even further in advance of touching down on the drone ship. You'll see the landing legs deploy as well. You can also, there's the deck of the drone ship on the right. We're about to have landing leg
Stage
deploy.
1, landing leg deploy.
They call landing leg deploy. There go the landing legs, and there it goes. On the right-hand side, it has touched down.
Stage 1, landing confirmed.
There we go. And we're about to have SECO 1 on the second stage shortly. Coming up on SECO 1.
MVAC shutdown.
There we go. ENVTuber has shut down after the first of 2 burns. It looks like they're gonna end the stream in a moment or two.
Insertion.
They've just called nominal orbital insertion, which means everything is going to plan. And we're gonna go back to the chatting window. And I'm gonna go ahead and mute the stream on that, mute that stream. But anyway, in about 45 minutes time, what they'll do next is they'll fire the MVAC engine for about 2 or 3 seconds more. I don't think it's going to be much more than about 2 seconds. That's to circularize the orbit. And about 18 to 20 minutes later, what they'll do is they will deploy the load, releasing 23 satellites on their way, and they have xenon-based ion thruster, excuse me, not xenon, but krypton-based ion thrusters, which will then put them in their appropriate orbital positions. So what'll happen now is that the vehicle, those vehicles will then place themselves into the appropriate orbits, and then once they're in their positions, they will start running tests, and after that, they will go into normal use. They use krypton mainly because while it doesn't have nearly as much efficiency as xenon, there's more of it, and on top of that, it is cheaper. So that's how that works, and that's why they do it that way. So in any event, that is the stream. I know it ended up being longer than I was anticipating. Normally I start streaming about half an hour before the launch starts, but in this case it got pushed back an entire hour. I am so glad you guys are still here, still watching, and I appreciate it. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm not gonna be able to do anything meaningful as far as, I don't know if I can do any rating. On VStream, I can do the so-called meteor shower. I don't know how to do that yet. So that's going to be something for another time. I know I can do a redirect on YouTube. I know there's the redirect on YouTube, which is the YouTube equivalent. I'm not certain if I can do that. But in the meantime, on the Twitch side, I am extremely familiar with rating. So, and that is second nature to me. So in the meantime, I'm going to check in with someone. See. Oh, damn it. That's not what I wanted. See. I'm gonna check see if one of my friends is still, if her stream is still up. Nope, unfortunately she is not up right now. That's okay, we always have a lot of other people we can go check in with and say hi to. And of course, tomorrow morning, I will actually announce my stream start probably now. I'm gonna probably light the stream up right around. And of course, I have to keep my eyes peeled out for the stream. I don't know how soon they're gonna announce theirs, but they're going to. I mean, they're shooting for 5 a.m. Pacific time, and then Central time it's like 7 in the morning. So let us go ahead and call it. I'm gonna start the stream right around, I don't know, I'm gonna have probably the stream lit and running right around 23 past 4 in the morning, and then the actual start of program will be about 4:30, and then I will we'll pick up the coverage as soon as it comes up. And again, as always, bear in mind these things do get they do in fact get they can get scrubbed at anywhere up to the very, 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 very last minute, like just as they're lighting the engines, kind of like an RSLS event during the space shuttle program. Redundant launch sequence are set, basically where they're just before they light the SRBs, the engine shut down. They've actually had that happen a couple of times. So I think I know who we might go say hi to. Who she's playing. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. I think we're gonna visit Bloody D, somebody I met over on VStream. She is, I believe, multicasting. She is not the word. That's not the one I'm looking for. Simulcasting herself. So those of us on Twitch, we're going to be going that way right now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be using that for those who have subs. And then we're going to use this for those who do have subs. Oh, sure, no problem. I am so glad to do that. I wanted to see how well this would actually be received now that I have the ability to actually to simulcast without too many consequences, I hope. Let me do this again just to be on the safe side. Oh yeah. But hey, at least I didn't have to say, oh, I'm going to tear the screen down for a minute. No. Let's go ahead and set the rate up real quick here. Oops, let me make sure the cursor is in here first. She's playing Lethal Company and she's got some friends on there. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and get the raid started. In the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. And as always, Slavu Kraini, and I'll see you guys at about 4:30 tomorrow morning. And thank you so much for dropping by and watching. Have a great evening, and I will see you then. Bye.